Hey everybody, Daniel Eskridge here. Today I'm going to demonstrate a technique I use to build dilapidated wooden structures. It requires the modeling of just a single board using a program like Blender, and Blender's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to take that single board and move it into view and then use it to build an entire building. In this case, we're going to build something kind of simple. It's just an outhouse, so it won't take too long, and it should be kind of fun. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to start here in Blender, and I'm just going to use the default cube that shows up when you first start up the application. And go into edit mode and select by face. Just select the top face here, stretch it vertically, and then maybe flatten it out this way. And now I got something that's a bit more board shaped, and that's a pretty good start. Let's go this way. What I'm going to do now is let me get it centered a little bit more. I'm going to subdivide it, so give us a larger mesh to work with. Got to select everything for that. And just over here, just set the number of cuts up as high as it'll go, which is 10. And then subdivide a couple more times. That'll give us a pretty dense mesh. It's going to edge mode, it's a little easier to see. You can see here, pretty dense mesh. This will let us sculpt a bit in sculpt mode. So we'll go into sculpt mode. Sculpt mode. And I'm just going to go along the edges and smooth them out. Just hold down the shift key and kind of pass over it. And this will get rid of those harsh corners. Let's go up here and do it. Can't see it too well on the window here, but you start to see a little bit of a white line appear there. That's the edge smoothing out. And I don't really care if it gets too rough here at the top and bottom, because I'm going to go over that later, make it even rougher. I do want to be very careful to not miss any edge, because this board needs to look good from every angle for this technique to work. Get this last little corner down here, and I think I've got them all. Okay, with that, I'm just going to switch the brushes into grab mode, and just give it a tug here and there. I'm going to make, like I said, the edges a bit rough, and then I'm going to smooth that out, because all I want to do is rough it up. And then the same thing with this end. I'm going to do either side here. And then smooth it out just a touch so it doesn't look too fake. Alright, and the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the radius of this brush quite a bit. I'm going to give this board just a slight warping. And you know what, I think I want to do more than that. Let's undo that. Go even bigger on the radius. Even bigger. There we go. Now I'm kind of pulling that whole board. And then smooth it a couple times, because I don't want it to warp too obviously. Maybe not so much. And there we go. Now I'm just going to export that to OBJ. Let's pick a project. No, misspelled outhouse, but I created this folder before for this project. And we're just going to call it board and save it. Okay, for the next part, we're here in view, and I'm going to import that board. There it is.
and move it to somewhere where I can see it a little bit better. And for now, I need to see the whole thing, just a pretty good bit of it. I think we'll increase the size. We're going to work on the texture here to make it look like a board, because right now it's just a white object. So we'll go into the texture editor. I'm going to go to map picture, and I'm going to select this boys-03AG, which is the texture that comes with view. Makes a pretty good wood grain. However, our board's up and down, and the wood grain is side to side, so I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And I'm going to increase the size to 3 in both the X and Y direction. It may vary depending on how big you made your model in Blender. This generally works about the best for me though when I'm doing this. And under bumps, I'm going to actually just use the same picture, the grayscale output of that. Click OK. And for the depth, it doesn't need to be very deep, just 0.1. It's going to be a pretty subtle texture. And maybe you need to go more subtle than that, we'll see. I'm going to make sure there's no highlights, no transparency, reflections, translucency, none of that stuff there. So now when you look at it, we got something that looks a good deal more like a board. An old and weathered looking, just how we want it for this structure. So I'm going to go back into the 4-view mode. Let's straighten this board out a little bit. I think I'm going to make it not quite so wide. Actually, we'll make it taller. And get the whole thing on the screen. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is just duplicate it. Hold down the Alt key and drag it, and then I have 2 of them. Now, the human eye, the human brain, is going to see that pattern repeat pretty quickly. So you got to break that up, and you don't have to do much. Just pick an angle, give it a 180-degree spin, maybe shrink it a little. Let's go that way. And now almost nobody's going to see that it's the same board. And you just do the same thing, duplicate it again, and this time I'll give it a spin this way. And move it down a little. Actually, let's go up. No, down. And we'll duplicate that one once, give that a spin. I don't want the gaps between the boards to be too big. Get them pretty close together. It does require a little bit of lining up carefully. We'll do one more. I'll make this a little bit larger than the others. And give it a spin. Something else you could always do if you want to really vary the size is turn it like this. Just 90 degrees in one direction and sort of reshape it just using views scaling. Now the warp there becomes really obvious. I don't think it's going to work on this side. It might work over here. Have a kind of a gap there that they can, people can see through this door. It's not quite door shaped, so let's select it all. And while we're here, we can group it together. Make it a bit more taller. Alright, I like that there. So now we got this kind of rickety old door to the front of our outhouse. Next thing we need are walls. So all you do is just duplicate the whole door and give it a 90-degree turn. Now I'm going to go in and adjust the heights of these boards a little because I want this to slope down. So I can just expand the group and then select each board from within it. And just shrink them until I get a sort of a gentle slope there. And it might help if I just rename these. I'll add door. Wall 1, and then it'll automatically, if I copy that, we'll do it from here. Where did the door go? Sometimes View does some funny things. Anyway, our objects seem to have disappeared, so let's add a layer. Sometimes, like I said, weird things happen. Looks like I didn't duplicate that wall. There we go. So now we have wall 1, wall 2, and door, which for some reason has gone missing. Well, we won't worry about it too much. We do want to take a board from here, though. I'm going to frame this door. Now let's hide it and then re-show it. There it is. Came back. Do want to put a frame around this door. And this is going to be taller than the door because it's going to have a board going over the top. Do that over here too. And remember, we don't want it to look the same, so we'll give it a 180-degree spin. Make it a little bit taller. Okay, now I can adjust those walls to make them line up with our door frame a little better. So what I'm going to do is actually move the camera so we can see this at a bit of an angle, instead of straight on. And move the camera back. Now you can see the whole thing real well. So far the whole thing looks a little too short and squat, so I'm just going to select everything, make it taller. That looks a bit better. Now you see a lot of light coming through here. You can fix that really easily with just using a primitive. It's going to take a cube and kind of make it the back wall. I just need to set its texture to flat black, so it's going to just eat up all the light. Stretch it all the way to the sides. Make sure it doesn't come out from behind the walls. Goes all the way up and all the way down. I'm going to duplicate that once also. Again, just hold down the Alt key, and then I'm going to use that to make a sort of a light trap for the roof that makes it look like the roof isn't letting that much light through. Too high up there. Actually, that's fine. Hide it below the door there. Okay. So now you don't have that light shining through. Let's build some structure to this door. I'll just take some piece of wood and we'll use one of the our door frame beams here. Just duplicate that. Give it a twist so that it goes horizontal, and shrink it down so it's only as, whoa, that's too much. We just want it to stretch alongside the door. Hoping I have it straight. It's going to be sitting on the front. Alright, so I'll make it a bit taller. And we'll look real close here to make sure that it's pressed right up against the door, because this is that board that's holding that door together, so that it can swing open and not fall apart. Alright, that looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do, now I kind of got where it's supposed to go. I'm actually going to move it back out. Now I'm going to turn it flat. From the top view here, I'm going to put some nails on it. I'm going to try to line them up with these boards here, use these as a reference. In order to make a nail, remember this is just the head of the nail, I'm just going to use a sphere actually. The cylinders would look too geometric, or the edges would be too hard. I'm going to shrink. Actually, I need to go this way. Shrink it down pretty far. Position it over our board. It's got to be over. Make it very, very flat. And very small. Not, well, I would say very small, but pretty small. And then I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and duplicate it a couple times. And they don't need to be, perfectly lined up or anything. I'm going to do another set where this board up here is. Go that way. And they're not going to be real even because this is going to be kind of a sloppy, quick-made outhouse. And this should be the last one. Okay, I'm going to give those, I'm going to select them all at once and give them a texture all together at the same time. I'm just going to go under metals, and I'm just going to select this sort of basic rust. I probably later on will spend some more time with it, trying to get it maybe a slightly better texture than that default one. Okay, but you see now the nails are not connected to the board, but all you got to do, because we turned it horizontally like this, is just hit the drop button and it drops them all on. And then I'm going to group them together with that one board, and now we got a cross beam with the nails all in it. So I can just rotate it back and push it back against the door. So now, if I do a quick test render, you'll see a line of nails going across that board. A little hard to see right now. When it comes to the final render, they'll be a little bit more obvious. Now let's do this. Do an area render. And we'll do it a bit larger so everybody can see. Render screen. 2000. Now you can see those nails here. No, they'll be a bit more apparent in the final render when the lighting's all better. Right now I'm just using kind of a cheap lighting that goes fast. Now I need a crossbeam for the bottom down there. So all I have to do is just duplicate this. Hold down the Alt key and drag the whole group down, and we've created another crossbeam. Now obviously we don't want it to look too much like it's a duplicate, so we'll give it a 180-degree spin. and line it up so it works. Alright, we need to give this a roof. That's pretty easy. Just take the door and duplicate it. And we just angle it up for the roof and then kind of shape it to the right size. I think it might be easier to reshape it when it's straight in one direction, or to resize it. That should do. I think those cross beams are a little too, or those door frames are a little too tall, so we'll shrink them down. I think I want the let's just rename that to roof, just so we don't get it mixed up with the actual door. Have that come out that way. And go wider. So now, another quick test render. Oops. And now we're getting a pretty good rickety looking old little shack here. A couple more things I want to do before we call this. We're just going to build the object today. I might build a full scene with it, but I don't think I'll do a video for that part. Going to put a beam up here. And I'll just take this door brace that we had, or door frame, should I say. Turn it horizontal, and actually I think I just want to, I don't want to shrink the whole thing, I just want to do something like that. I'm going to grab a nail from our group here. Let's just move that out. Resize it. Okay, let's move that out. And move out our board. Use the same trick. Turn it horizontal. And I gotta do that with the same thing with this, the nail. Turn it horizontal. Make this one a bit bigger. Didn't use the same nails to hammer in the top part of the door frame as they did to put the door together. Oops. So I'm just duplicate it a couple of times. And drag another couple over to the other side. Take all four spheres and drop them onto the board. Group that all together. And then put it right back here. Now we got an old board that holds the whole thing together at the top. What else do we need to do? Oh, okay. We've got crescent moon shape that's cut out. It's sort of a standard you see in outhouses. So we'll make one real quick using some Boolean objects. I'm going to create a cylinder, and let's be real specific about this. Rotate it 90 degrees. Make it a good deal smaller. And center it on that top board we just made. Now it needs to jut out here in front of it, but it also needs to cut all the way through for this to work. And I'm going to duplicate that and drag the duplicate just a little bit to the side and expand it forwards and backwards. A little more. You see I'm creating that crescent moon shape right here. That should be enough. Maybe make it a little shorter this way. That'll give me a perfect crescent moon. Alright, so I'm going to take the first cylinder and then hold down the shift key and select the second cylinder. You need to do it in this order and then do the Boolean difference. And that's going to create a crescent shape. And you can't really see it too well here. But then I'm going to take the top board there, select that first, hold down the shift key or the control key, either one. Select the difference we just did there and do another difference. And let's do a area render over just that area. We'll do it a little bit bigger so we can all see it. And now you can see there's a crescent moon shape cut out of the board up there. And we'll do a doorknob right here using the same technique. Just create a cylinder, rotate it 90 degrees. I'm going to make it a not perfect cylinder, we'll make it a little taller than it is, or a little taller than it is wide. Let's shrink that down pretty far. We're going to get it on this little warp board. Not a very good doorknob. But then again, it's just an outhouse. It's actually going to be a hole that you'd stick your fingers through. Okay, now for this, I'm going to have to actually pull that particular board out of the door. So I think it's our last board here. I'm just going to drag it down out of that group. Have that one selected first, select the cylinder second, do a Boolean difference, and that should give us a doorknob. You know what, I think I need to make the cylinder a bit bigger. Okay. So now I do a quick render. Oops. Area render and render menu. So we lost a board there. It's still there, it's just went into hiding for some reason in the preview window. So we got our crescent moon shape up here and our doorknob down here. With that, I think I'll call this outhouse done. Now I'm going to build another scene around it, but again, I'm not going to do the video for it. So thank you for joining me this evening. I hope to see you again. And as always, you can always check out my prints at DanielEskridge.com. Thanks, everyone.